Can we get a little bit more guidance on the outlook? The fact that you still see full year EBIT at 3.5 to 3.8 billion euros. What's your base case for the rest of the year? Because you did come out just recently with guidance that took you through to 2022. For the second half of 2020, therefore, is your base case that we're seeing a V-shaped recovery and that leads you to keep that guidance?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me. We withdrew our guidance for the year 2020 in April, when there was obviously hardly any visibility how the second quarter and the rest of the year would play out. What we then saw in the course of the second quarter was a resumption of growth, which is also visible in our numbers. 4 out of 5 of our operating divisions actually saw revenue and EBIT growth in the second quarter. And on that basis, we felt confident enough to re-establish a guidance for the year 2020. 3.5 to 3.8 billion euros is our EBIT target for 2020. That assumes no super buoyant recovery in the second half of the year, but some form of recovery, and of course we don't anticipate a massive second wave. I think what we see at the moment is that in several countries case numbers are going up again, but overall I think we have learned, for example here across Europe, how to deal with those local outbreaks much better than what we saw in March, April, and on that basis we have been confident enough to re-establish our guidance for the rest of the year.
Okay, so that's Melanie. Good morning. Welcome to Daybreak Europe. So that's quite a confident viewpoint of how you see the world. Can you just give us a complexion of how the world looks to you geographically? Australia's gone into double lockdown. US Sunbelt under pressure. So just if you can just build on that narrative for us in terms of where is the most demonstrable improvement and where's the laggard, where's the worst?
Yes, I mean, overall, it is clearly still quite a volatile situation. And as I said, we unfortunately have seen that case numbers are going up in a number of countries. And indeed, in some places like Australia, we have seen an establishment of a new lockdown. I think what is for us important as a company is we first of all have some structural growth drivers which have shown a lot of resilience throughout the crisis, and that has been spread across the globe. The most prominent one is, of course, e-commerce, where we have benefited in our parcel division here in Germany, in our express network, in our e-commerce solutions operations quite significantly. So that is one of the reasons for our confidence despite all the volatility around us. And I think the second element which we have proven in the second quarter is our ability to really react in a very flexible and agile way to the changing circumstances and to adapt our networks. And I think the credit for that really goes to our people. We employ 550,000 people across the planet. The majority of our people, around about 400,000, are out there every day delivering parcels, working in warehouses. They couldn't go into home office. And they are the ones who really kept our network operating for the benefit of our customers. And that is what gives me confidence for us as a company also for the second half of the year.
Let's talk a little bit more about the second half of the year in terms of air and sea freight volumes, Melanie, because they fell double-digit in the second quarter. Do you expect a rebound? And if so, to what extent for the remainder of 2020?
Yeah, so obviously our forwarding division was the one where we saw significant declines both in air and ocean freight volumes, double-digit. The market is heavily distorted, particularly on the air freight side, where the lack in demand is coupled with the extreme shortage in capacity due to the grounding of passenger aircraft. And I think that is really a very unprecedented situation. The forwarding business is traditionally more a B2B business, which is why the impact of the overall still depressed global demand is quite visible. It is difficult to predict that for the second half of the year, but I think we have to be prepared for depressed volumes to continue in forwarding for the rest of the year. There have been some encouraging signs now, but it is still extremely volatile and hard to predict. The most important thing is to really secure capacity, particularly on the air freight side, to match it with the demand we have from our customers. And we have been quite successful in doing that in the second quarter, as you can see from our global forwarding numbers.
what does that mean for pricing, Melanie, in terms of the freight capacity is taken out, the charges or the average charge presumably rises? So talk us through pricing, because we're trying to grapple with the concept of whether we're in an inflationary spiral as a result of COVID for corporates like you, or a deflationary spiral. So talk us through the pricing.
Yeah, I think the most distorted pricing was clearly on the air freight side, where, yes, demand was down, but supply was down even more. And that really led to extreme pricing. So when you look at what it costs you to do a charter across the Pacific, in normal times that's around $400,000. It went up to something like 1.6 in the peak, 1.6 million in the peak.
Wow.
So the pricing was extreme to secure capacity. It has come down from those very extreme levels, but it's still far away from normal. I think for us the most important thing, and that is where we were able to play out the strengths of our air freight forwarding organization, was to secure capacity in the first place, and then of course to find a reasonable pricing. I think the most important thing was, due to our size, due to the good relationships we had with carriers, we were able to secure capacity for our customers, and that is what we also still see as a very critical component now in the third quarter.